What if I told you there's a place on Earth where mountains don't just touch the sky, they live inside it? Where the peaks are almost always veiled in mist, hiding a world so untouched, it feels like stepping into a dream. Imagine standing at the edge of a silent, glassy fjord. Above you, mountains rise so steep they seem to slice the clouds. A soft, persistent mist clings to their slopes, not as weather, but as a presence. This is Fiordland National Park, one of the wettest, wildest, and most mysterious places on the planet. And those misty peaks, they're not just scenery. They're keepers of secrets that have been forming for millions of years. Most mountains reveal themselves in clear, crisp lines. But Fiordland's peaks are almost never fully visible. They exist in a state of half-appearance, like a story told in whispers. And that mist, that constant, drifting veil, isn't hiding emptiness. It's concealing a lost world. So how did these mountains form? And what makes their mist so permanent, so alive? Let's start with the land itself. Fiordland wasn't built slowly. It was carved violently, dramatically, by glaciers so massive they make today's ice sheets look like frost. During the last ice age, ice thousands of meters thick ground down entire valleys, sculpting U-shaped troughs that later filled with seawater, creating the fjords. But the peaks were left behind, sharp, serrated, and impossibly steep now. Picture this. Warm, moist air sweeping in from the Tasman Sea. It hits these cold, towering walls and has nowhere to go but up. As the air rises, it cools rapidly, condensing into the mist that defines this landscape. It's not just fog. It's the breath of the ocean meeting the bones of the earth. And within that mist, an entire ecosystem thrives in near-total isolation. Step into the cloud forests that cling to these slopes. You won't find trees like this anywhere else. They're gnarled, moss-draped, and dripping with moisture. Every branch, every trunk is a garden. Ferns sprout from bark, orchids bloom in the damp air, and thick carpets of sphagnum moss absorb sound, creating an eerie, muffled silence. This is a world ruled by water. It rains here more than 200 days a year, in some places, over 7 meters of rainfall annually. That's enough to fill a 2-story house with water. And all that rain feeds rivers that appear out of nowhere, cascading down cliffs in temporary waterfalls that vanish hours after the storm passes. Some falls are so tall, the wind blows them sideways before the water ever touches the ground. But the real magic happens where the mist meets the rock. Because these peaks aren't just stone, they're living archives. The mist carries nutrients from the ocean, depositing them onto the mountains. It sustains plants that have grown here, unchanged, since before the last ice age. Some of these species exist nowhere else on Earth, like the Fiordland crested penguin, which nests in the dense, dripping forests, or the ancient southern beech trees that have stood for over 1,000 years. And then there's what lies beneath the surface. Deep inside the mountains, hidden caves and sinkholes plunge into darkness. In some of these caves, glowworms light up the underground like starry skies. A secret universe beneath the mist for centuries, the Maori people navigated these fjords and peaks, knowing them as a spiritual realm, a place of ancestors and legends. European explorers later described it as the most unsociable place in the world, not because it was hostile, but because it felt so profoundly separate from everything they knew. Even today, much of Fiordland remains unmapped. There are valleys no human has ever walked, peaks without names, waterfalls that have never been photographed in full sunlight. The mist doesn't just hide the landscape, it protects it. And that's the deeper truth about Fiordland's misty peaks. They're not just a beautiful accident of weather and geology. They're a symbol of resilience, of a world that has chosen to remain wild, remote, and untamable. In an age where so much of the planet has been explored, developed, or altered, Fiordland stands as a reminder that some places are meant to keep their secrets. The mist will always return. The peaks will always be half seen. And perhaps that's exactly how it should be, not a place to conquer, but a world to wonder at, to respect, and to preserve. Have you ever experienced a place that felt truly untouched? Share your story in the comments. And if you want to explore more of Earth's hidden wonders, subscribe to Wonder Explorer.